In this video, I'm going to show you my settings for Audacity to post-produce HearThis recordings. So let's get started. Cleaning up the HearThis audio files is really fairly simple in Audacity. It takes a little bit of practice, but I'm going to walk you through my setup here, and if you have it set up correctly, it'll make it significantly easier to clean it up. You need to download Audacity if you don't have it, and I will get the newest version. And also you need to have the plugins. It's good if you do have the FFmpeg plugin and the Nyquist. You need the Nyquist plugins. And I have a link to video, a YouTube video to show you how to do that. So watch that if you have not installed those yet. When I was recording in HearThis, I was recording in 1 Timothy 1, but I recorded 1 Timothy 2 for the example here. And so the first thing that we need to do is set up our preferences. So you go under Edit, and you go under Preferences or Ctrl+P. And when you come up to the device, and you want to make sure that you have your device. So I'm using my USB sound card, so have this plugged in before you turn on Audacity. So the next thing that we're going to come down to is libraries. Come down to libraries, and I see that I have the FFmpeg, and you can locate it if you want to. If you don't have it, you click here and it'll take you to a website and show you how to download it. The next thing I want to go to is effects. Come down to effects, and these are all the effects, and you want to make sure that you have the Nyquist. If you don't have the Nyquist, watch the video that I have in the link how to install that, because we will be using Nyquist effects. And then keyboard. Here is keyboard shortcuts that I have, but I have them limited for doing the post-production here. And I have all my keyboard shortcuts down in the notes below so that you can see what they are. I'm not going to walk through each one of them here. So that's for the preferences, so we can close that. And the next thing that we want to do is go to our tracks. Go to tracks, and you want to make sure that this sync lock track is on. It's checked. And this is when we bring in our labels. We want our labels to be locked with this. So when I delete something, we want our labels to move with it. So if it's not locked, they won't move together. But if they are locked, they will move together. And then we're going to go up to our effects. If you go up to here, you can see that my list is quite short. And the reason I do this is because I don't want to have to hunt through all the effects I don't need. And so down here, you can see under this line here, these two right here, these are Nyquist. And so you want to make sure that those are installed. But you can go into the plugin manager, and you can disable the ones that you don't want to use. But when you come down here, limiter, you can see it's a Nyquist. So you need to have that installed, and you have to have it enabled. And the next thing is macros. We're going to use macros to clean this up really quickly, but I'm going to take you step by step through it. So you go to Tools, and then when you go to Macro Manager, you will see that I have a HearThis. You'll see a bunch of other ones I have, but I have a HearThis one, and here is the chain. And so basically it's going to do noise reduction, noise gate, normalize, and it will go down through these. And so I want to show you each individual things. Kind of want to teach you about what they're doing, and just instead of just having a macro and you just do it. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to duplicate it. So we have two copies, so we have something to compare to. So the first effect that I use is noise reduction. So you want to come in, and what noise reduction does is take the noise, kind of the general rumble of the room and stuff out. And that is through the whole thing, through everything, in the words and outside. If you're in a studio, my recording was really clean, but if you're outside in a village or something like that, there might be a lot of noise, some wind, something like that, and it can change from chapter to chapter. So what you do is you go in and you sample a section here, and then you go to Effect, and then you say Noise Reduction, and I have a Ctrl+Shift+R for that. And so when I go to here, and I want to get the noise profile, so what it's doing is figuring out what this is, and it's doing more than just EQing, but it's doing a fancy thing. And so go here and Ctrl+F is full screen. So you want to highlight this here, and then you need to go back to the effect again. The macro will make this go really fast. And then you want to apply it. And so what that's doing is taking all the room noise out. So with a very clean recording, it hardly took anything out. If you overdo it, and you'll make it sound really robotic and digitally. So you want to make sure that you use the settings that I have. I use the default settings that they have here. The noise reduction is only 12 dBs. You don't want to get rid of it all the way because you'll make it really sound robotic. The next effect is a noise gate. And so I'm going to go up here, and you see it's below this line because it's a Nyquist. And when I click here, oh, you have to select something. Sorry, I want to select the whole thing here. So I go up to Effect, Noise Gate, and I pretty much use the default settings. You want it to be a gate. You want it -35. You can change this, but it's a fairly clean recording. This will take out breaths between things. Breathing is not bad, but you just don't want it to be annoying that there's if they have a head-worn mic, you might get a lot of that, and you want to reduce it, but you don't want to jam it all the way down. So -24 is really good, and what it's going to do is take out noise between the words here, between what you're saying. Now when you do this, you want to make sure that when you listen back that it's not trimming the beginning of the words and the ends of the words, like P's and S's and things like that, soft H's. And so you apply it, and there's not really much in here, and there wasn't any really breathing, but if I zoom in here, it would clean it out. And so there was really not much noise, but if there was kind of a light breath here, it would take it out. The next effect that I'm going to do, let me back out. Okay, here's a good example. There's this click here. Okay, and so that click, you can kind of hear it. And so I have to double click and go to Effects. And then I go to Click Removal. You go here, and I just use the default settings. And when I hit it and apply it, okay, it didn't take it out completely, but it takes out kind of the clicks and different things like that. And I find that it just slightly improves the audio when I use that effect. And I find that it just kind of removes those kind of annoying clicks here and there. And I found that it really hasn't changed the audio here too much. Yes, there was a slight change to it, but it seems to improve it. The next effect is a compressor. What a compressor does is it takes the things that are high and brings them down. So it's going to be more level. So instead of having all these high peaks, and it does take out some of the dynamics, but it does add loudness, we're going to compress it to 3:1 at the threshold of -12. So anything that goes over -12, and you'll see when I'm playing this back here, a lot of things are going to go over -12. Want men everywhere to pray. Men who lift their hands. So everything that goes over -12, we're going to bring it down to 1/3 its height. So if it was coming all the way up here to -3, it's going to be brought down to -9. Anything that was here at -6, it'll bring it down to more like -10 or 11. So what it does is it brings these high peaks and this low area closer together. So double click on there, Effects, Compressor. And so here's where you change your threshold. This is the default, and I would leave it there at -12. The floor, leave it at -20. And the ratio, they say for narration to have it 4:1, but the more you compress it, the more it'll be together, the louder it will sound, but harsher it will be. So when I hit this and apply, you'll see, and you'll compare it to this down here. When I hit apply, now you'll see that these peaks, this high peak here, and all this other is closer together. Having it closer together makes sure audio louder. There's a difference between volume and peaks and loudness. And so here I have this right up to the very top here. It has volume, but it doesn't have loudness. This will create the loudness. The next effect is called a limiter. So if you come up here, effects, and here's limiter. This is a nyquist, but a limiter is only a compressor. And basically what it's doing is, instead of having the threshold at -12, if you take this and pull it all the way over here, it will not allow anything to go above -12. So it would just chop these off right at -12 and not let the volume. So that would make a louder but more harsher sounding audio. So we don't want to do that. What we want to do is just trim off these. See, this has been, after we compress it, it makes up to -0. So right here, we're just going to trim off these very tippy tops just by 1 dB. So we can go in here and 1 dB, and I'm going to show you extreme here. I'm going to make it 5 dBs. And so I'm going to do a soft limit. I'm actually going to do a hard limit here. And then no makeup gain. So when I hit apply here, you'll see it just chops it right off. Boom. And it's really flat, and it will sound really harsh. It will be strong. It's like TV commercials, how they're so strong. It's because they highly limit their things to make them really strong. So Ctrl+Z. And now we're going to go back, limit, and I like to use the soft limit. It doesn't chop it so flat. And then I take this and I go to -1 dB. You can make it -2 if you want a little bit stronger sounding. And so I hit here, and you'll see right here, like right here, here, and here, you'll see those just come down by 1 dB. So look right here. So they just came down by 1 dB. And I didn't have the makeup gain because the next effect that I'm going to do is to make this down to -2 dB. So the last effect is going to come here, and I'm going to go to Normalize. And I want it to come down to -2 dBs. And this is kind of a standard that I have, that I bring it down to -2 dB. If we want to apply music and effects later on, it gives a little bit of headroom, and it's just not blasting completely. So when I do this, it'll bring the volume down just by 1 dB on these peaks here. So it brought it down. So that's what it's doing here. And so I'm going to take it and I'm going to play it back for you. And so you can kind of hear the difference. So I'm going to just play it back maybe right here. And I'm going to solo this. And you're going to listen to it. This was the message that was given to us at just the right time. And I was chosen as an apostle to tell people that message. I am telling you the truth, and I'm not lying. I was chosen. So it sounds a little bit stronger. I mean, if I wanted to, I could really make this sound a lot louder, but I don't want to go too extreme. It also cleans up clicks when you hit the space bar. You'll hear those clicks. It'll clean up a lot of those. It'll clean up breaths between here. And so it just makes it a little bit better sounding. You can see that it's more at a level, same level, instead of here where you have the extremes and highs and lows. So it does take out the dynamics, but overall it does make it sound better because our target device are Audio Bibles, Mega Voice, Proclaimers, telephones. Those are our target speakers. And so this will sound better and clearer on those small little speakers. To make a macro is really simple. So you can go up here, Tools, Macro Manager, and then you just say New. And you can type in whatever you want, but I already have the here's this one, so I'll just show you on that so we don't have to spend the time creating it. So you come in here, and if you want to add something new, you can click down here, and I want to insert a noise gate. So you have to go and you kind of have to manually, but I'm coming down and I go noise gate, click on it, and it inserts it down here. So I can take it and move it up and down wherever I want it, but I already have a noise gate in here. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that. Now the order that these effects work is very important. You want to clean up the noise with the noise reduction and noise gate at the beginning. Then you want to bring up your levels, and you're going to be doing your limiting stuff at the end. So the order of this is important. All this is in the notes down below, so I don't have to describe every single one. But you double click on here, and you can set it up to what I suggest or what you feel is the best. Then the noise gate, you can go in here, And you might need to change this threshold, but after you do that, you hit apply, and then you make the changes that you need to do. So the order is important. Go to the limiter. You can take it, make it -3. If you want, you can make it -2. Whatever works best for you. Hit apply, and then close, and it'll ask you want to save that. Yes. So we have this one right here. I'm going to delete it, and I'm going to show you how the macro works. So I double click on here. You have to have it selected, and then Ctrl+Shift+H for here's this. I do it. And there it is. And that quick of time, it cleaned it all up. And so macros can really help you process your files quickly and make them sound loud and more consistent. If we go back, you can see that this was soft down here. It's kind of low. But now when I go back to it, you can see that it's more at the same level. So it really helps out the quality of your audio. The final thing for my setup here is I set up my folder structure here, but this is not with Audacity, but I go in and I have these OGG with tags, and you can download those from my download, and it will have all the books of the Bible. This will help me name my Audacity project. So I'm going to take this, grab this folder, drag it in there, and then I want to replace this XXX underscore, and I want the replace XXX underscore, and I want to replace it with the ethnocode. So it's ONRW underscore. So the ONR is for Onale, and the W stands for Wawali. And so it's a dialect of Onale. And then you'll see when you choose all that it's going to change this, and this will help me name my Audacity files consistently and quickly. So then you go down and you hit the rename, and it'll rename all these files. So when we go into the folder, now you can see that they have the correct name, and we're going to use that in the next video. So if you take the time and set up Audacity like this, it'll make the post-production quick and accurate. If you found any value in this video, please like, subscribe, and share so YouTube will recommend it to others.